Easter. Woo! Yay! He is risen. He is truly risen. Alleluia. Welcome to the Knitty McPurly podcast. The special Easter Sunday edition. This is episode 123. I'm your host, Devin AT. You can find me online at KnittyMcPurly.com. I'm Knitty McPurly on Instagram. And if you want to email me, I'm Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. My allergies are in full swing, so I sound a little bit like this. But whatever, it is Easter. I am wearing my Knitty McPurly Easter MCal shawl, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Welcome. I got my coffee. We got up at 4:15 this morning to go to 5 a.m. Mass, which was nice because it was like the usual 6:30 crowd went to the 5 a.m. Everybody kind of backs it up a notch on Easter. So what is it now? It's like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Crazy. How are you guys? I don't know about you. I had kind of a terrible Holy Week, which I guess is what you're supposed to have. And today it's Easter and all is well with the world. All is good. I ended up taking off from all of life other than like cleaning my house from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the gilded pre-orders that my testers placed are going to ship out tomorrow on Monday. Those are all ready to go. I just need to ship them out, and that will all happen tomorrow. Okay, this is going to be kind of a shorter episode today. I've cut out some segments because it is Easter, and that's what it is. But we will get right on to progress and shop news. Coffee, morning. Oh my gosh. Huge thank you to all of those of you who visited my website last week. I had a big announcement with the Joy stitch marker necklaces that came out. A lot of you came and shopped them. If you gave up shopping for Lent and you are back and you are looking to make a purchase and you think I need a stitch marker necklace that has a big smile on it that just makes me happy to look at it and wear it, you can find those over on my website. They are the Joy stitch marker necklace and they come in silver and gold. So those are available now. Thank you so much of those of you who bought them and put your pictures on Instagram. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. The April color of the month is also still available in Frankfurt fingering weight and Dubrovnik DK. It coordinates great with Fontaine and Trinket and BFC, as I'm calling it, Black Forest Cake. Anything that's 3 words long, you've got to shorten to an acronym. It's like our 2021, or what year is it? Too early. Our 2023 attention span only allows for 3-letter acronyms. And also Bossk. I have a good bit left. There's plenty left. The month has just begun. It will be here all month, but go and get yours if you want to. I had some people say, I love it, but what do I do with it? And my immediate response is absolutely everything. You can do everything with variegated or speckly yarn. My go-to for a skein like this is socks, sweater, shawl. I would pick one of those things, which is a lot of the things. But you could use it for something like a hat. You know, hats tend to have a pattern like cables or something. If it were a colorwork hat, that would be amazing. But if you use a variegated skein as one of the colors in colorwork, that looks amazing. Tons of designers have done that. It looks so, so good. Tons of shawls are designed with this kind of yarn. And of course, socks. Socks are very, very, it's a very obvious choice for yarn that looks as amazing as this. So everything will ship on Monday, tomorrow. Which brings me to something else that's happening tomorrow. Am I talking fast? What? I am having a 50% off sale tomorrow at noon, Easter Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And it's not on everything on my site. It's just special skeins like one-offs, one-of-a-kinds. And some of these one-of-a-kinds are bundles of, 4 or 5 skeins where, indie dyers are always trying things, and sometimes we end up with piles of beautiful failures. So I mused to my newsletter subscribers that I should call it the Beautiful Failure Sale, because they really are very pretty. But they are 50% off tomorrow. So I have a limited number of these. Some of them are selling as bundles. So, you could get the 5 skein set, or the 4 or the 3 or the 2 skein bundle of the ones that either coordinate or go together or whatever. So that is happening tomorrow at noon if you want to join in on that. So I did not make a lot of knitting progress this week. I meant to bring my Vesper sweater up here, but I posted this picture. So I did not make a lot of progress over the past week, but I did post this picture on Instagram of my Vesper sweater label. And someone pointed out to me that there is a nice big hole right in the front. And I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but after I took the picture, I noticed it. And I just sewed it up real quick with some of the mohair, and it's invisible. It's totally gone. So for those of you who saw the hole and were freaking out, could have been a drop stitch. I really don't know what it was. I've worn that sweater a ton of times. This is the first time I noticed it when I took a picture. So I sewed it up, all good. But anyway, I wanted to show you a little video of me sewing my Vesper labels in. So these came in last week. That was exciting. I put them in the mail to my testers. Hopefully they have received them already or will receive them on Monday. But I think it's easy to look at a label and say, well, how do I get this in my sweater? So here is a little video showing that. Okay, so here I have the label for my Vesper sweater, and I've started doing my plan right here, and I thought I would just show you how I'm gonna do it, because I thought, how am I gonna sew this onto a sweater in a way that looks really clean and that doesn't show through too much on the other side? And I thought the best way to do that would be to attach yarn to the label, so then I could sew the yarn to the sweater. So all I'm doing here is I'm just gonna go, just kind of trying to go in a straight line there. And I'm gonna pull it through almost all the way and keep the tail out of the way. Pull it through almost all the way. Oops. Is that the way I wanted to go? No, I don't think so. I think I was going through the other way. Okay, I'm trying to do kind of a whip stitch. So we'll just start going the other way. So I'll go in, kind of along the same line, about the same distance up a little bit. So that was just a practice one. Pretend you didn't see that. All right, and so I've got kind of a whip stitch there, and then I'm just going to go through it. And I think this might be called like a blanket stitch or something, but you're essentially like tying a knot. And I have actually switched directions, because before I was going the other way, but whatever. The reason it doesn't show is because it's the mohair is very fuzzy and it's a very light color. But if you were doing other yarn, where it would show, you would not want to do what I just did. You'd want to do it better than that. So there, we're just gonna go the same way every time. All right, so all I'm doing here is just adding some yarn to the edge so that I can then add it to the sweater. And I'll do, let's see, one more. I could have used the yarn in the Frankfurt fingering in the trinket. Sorry about that. But I couldn't find it. I could find this one, so I thought I'll do this one. That seems easy. Now, gosh, it would have been a little neater if I had just not made that mistake. Now I could rip it back, but I don't think it really matters. Okay, so here is my sweater. All right, and I am gonna sew it. Oh my gosh, look how good it looks. So let me find, see the middle, where I want to put it. If I had some sewing clips up here, I would clip it down I'm recording a little video. Just hold on a sec. Okay. So now all I'm going to do is attach. I'm just going to kind of whip stitch this back. And I think it's just going to sew on a little more cleanly than if I had not added the yarn to the side of the label. Another thing about the label is that the edges, it's a woven label. And this particular one is cotton. And so the edges threaten to come unraveled. So this is another safeguard against that happening also. I actually really like the mohair. I had originally planned on doing this in the trinket in the Frankfurt fingering, but I actually really like the mohair. It's a little more thread-like, and it has a nice halo to it. All right, we'll do one more. All right, look at that. That looks amazing. I'm just gonna do one more here. I think that will look nice. All right, and that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. So I kind of figured if I could add like a whip stitch around the edge with that pull through, forget what that stitch is called, but if I could add that around, I could then use that to add it into the sweater. Now, I did that on the side that I showed you, and that side looked pretty good. The other side didn't quite go as smoothly. And at that point, I was really glad that I chose the mohair because you really couldn't tell. You just didn't notice any imperfections because the yarn was so light, and it's light in color and light in weight. And so I would recommend using your mohair to sew that in, or you could even use regular thread if you wanted. But the way that I attach this is completely invisible from the outside of the sweater. Like if you're wearing it, you can't see the label at all. And that is the concern. Okay, the other thing that is big news on Easter Sunday at Knitty McPurly headquarters is that the Lent Mystery Knit Along is over. And let me show you. So this is not what I wore to church this morning. It's actually a funny story. Let me tell you this funny story first. So I have this dress. It's got airplanes on it, and it's like my favorite dress. And in the back, there's a seam, and the zipper will zip up to the seam, and I just can't get it past the seam. It's like it's stitched too closely to the zipper at that seam point. So I couldn't get the zipper up, but like it was 4:45 in the morning and it was time to go. So I just put a jean jacket over it and I wore it unzipped. And like it zipped up to, a little bit, far enough. And so that's what I wore to Mass. But anyway, I got home and I was like, I guess I can't wear this all day. So anyway, this is the shawl. I'm gonna call this shawl 33. Because one of my lovely knitters, Sarah, I believe it was, pointed out to me that there are 33 repeats of the lace. And do you think that I even noticed that, like designing it? No, didn't even notice it. But I was like, really? She's like, how do you not know this? So anyway, the Mystery Knit Along shawl started here with a little 3-stitch cast on. And then you work this triangle of increases, and then you work all of these short rows all the way, and I've blocked this puppy, that's why it's so long and whatnot, and you work these short rows all the way out here, and then you just start working them all down in a lace repeat. I really can't show the whole thing here. I'll go ahead and put up some pictures right now of the glamour shots of the shawl. Gigi and I went out to this pretty building in the back of our neighborhood and took these pictures. But I also wanted to talk about ways to style a rectangular shawl, because that's essentially what this is. What you end up with is essentially something that is a big rectangle. So a great way to start with this, I got a question about it, and I also had this question like before. I went out to take these pictures, I was like, well, how am I going to style this thing? You know, what's the best way to wear it? So I think the easiest, most obvious option is the wrap, right? This is very pretty. It's also very warm. It's a very useful, you have to pardon the sun shining in here. I closed the blinds, but it's coming in the chinks. So wrap, one great option. All of the other options start by making it skinny. All right. So we make it like a scarf, and you can do it kind of cowl style. Like this. This is a great option. Is that bothering you? Let me fix it. My favorite way, I found this on the internet, and you can do it like this or like this, is called the half bandit, where once you have it in this cowl style, pull one side up and tuck it like that. And no matter how it lands, it always kind of looks good. Doesn't that look really good? Those are my favorite ways. There's also this traditional scarf way. And for this, I like to try to make it a little bit flat. This is kind of a common scarf situation. But this is essentially a rectangular scarf or shawl. So if you're not sure how to wear it, you can Google how to style a rectangle scarf, and that will give you some good tips. I was really cold. I don't know, maybe it's the coffee, but I've warmed up. So I have cut several things out of the podcast. Oh, before, I got to show you what I've been working on. So I have, like I said, I have not made a tremendous amount of progress. I worked a little bit on my dinosaur. He's not just a potato. I'm starting to shape his big fat head. He's going to be chunky. He needs more stuffing, but this was just to kind of fill him out and see where I was. So I did not get very far on him. I also did not get super far on this because I just got bored. This is my Diggory tee, which if you're a regular podcast watcher, you know that's a pattern I'm working on that's not out yet. And you can see there is my jog right there. That's the beginning of the round. Now I am carrying the yarn up, and you really don't see, even through the mohair, and this is Surrey silk, not mohair, you really don't see that dark yarn being carried up there at all. But I just got bored of working on this. And so I did a little, but it's just so great. Surrey silk is amazing. I really want to make something entirely out of Surrey silk. This scarf is remarkably warm. I think I'm gonna switch to the wrap style. It's hard to tell which is the right side. Okay, I'm gonna switch to the wrap just because then it's not so concentrated. It's so concentrated on my neck that it's just too much warmth right there. So I did a little bit on both of those things and not a lot. So when I was feeling bored, last night I was just kind of sitting there feeling like I want to knit, but I don't know what I want to knit. And so I'm like, new cast on, ooh, or should I, be responsible adult and pull out something that I should work on? And that ended up being the best choice. And so I pulled out my Shasta sweater. So you might notice, and you probably don't, I wouldn't have, but there was another layer of rainbow here. I'm gonna put a picture up of how it looked last night right before I ripped it out. If I were making a sweater just for my own self to wear, I could have done it with these giant rainbows right at the sleeve divide. It was going to make grading absolutely impossible. There's just no way to grade that so that all of your repeats work out. I could do it in like 3 sizes and that would be it. And they would be tiny, medium, and really big. So actually, I don't even know. I don't even know if that would work out. Anyway, I was sitting there last night looking at it going, this is not gonna work. And so I decided to just have 2 layers of rainbows on the neck, and I love it. And I am just about to do the sleeve divide here. And I'm gonna do the sleeve divide in beautiful Black Forest cake stockinette, where I can divide it up however I like, and there's nothing there saying, no, this won't work, or this only works for this size, but it's not gonna work for anything else. So yeah, so I pulled that out, and that was really fun. Ripping it out was a little bit of a bummer because I had a lot, but I also had knit the yoke longer than I wanted it to be. You kind of want the yoke to fit somewhat snugly on a sweater like this. You don't want it to be too loose because then it looks too big and the picture doesn't spread out the way you want it to. So it was I had knitted a little too far anyway. So it really needed to get ripped back. But I was really happy to pull that out because it had been sitting in timeout for a while, and it was just time for it to rejoin the world. Okay, the only other segment that I'm gonna do today is the comment section because you guys left me such good comments last time. Laundromat Girl says, Devin, please make a knitter's license sticker so I have all the documentation needed to break all the rules. That is a great idea. I love that idea. She said, I loved Gigi's appearance today and her derpy frog too. Super cute. I feel like we only showed the boy frog last week. Well, since then, after the podcast, like that same day, she knit a girl frog, and here they are. Aren't they adorable? So Gigi, she has such amazing style. I'm gonna post a picture of how she has these frogs styled in her room, and you're gonna think that she spends too much time on Pinterest because it just looks so amazing. She spends time on good Pinterest though. There's all sorts of Pinterest out there, and she's like, it's Christian Pinterest, but Christian Pinterest has a lot of these, beautiful, it's very beautiful because it's Pinterest. So anyway, Wendy Knopp says, thank you, Devin, for another lovely podcast. What a delight to see Gigi and her adorable project. I'm thankful for the friends I've met in the knitting world and pray that someday we can all get along again. Me too. I would love that. I would love that. Ruth Ann Bull says, knitting and friends, I go to my LYS every Thursday from 2 to 4, except we have so much fun, we actually get there at noon and stay till 4. I can't miss and will not do appointments on that day. By the way, they are watching my Vesper sweater grow. Ruth Ann is one of my testers. They are my cheerleaders. Thanks for sharing this sweet story. I really need to be your best friend, Ruth Ann, because I feel like Ruth Ann has done many, many test knits for me, and she is wonderful. She does such a good job, and she always takes such beautiful pictures. But I love that you have that every Thursday. That is awesome. I want to come. Tell me where it is. I'll fly in. Olia Mikesh says, well said, Devin. Knitting does bring people together because it gives us a common ground to stand on. I went to vote in my local elections this morning wearing one of my hand-knitted cowls. A couple of ladies working there asked me about it, and we had a brief conversation. At least one of them was a knitter. And immediately there was a sense of warmth and support, something that I never feel when voting in my area. Amen, sister. I get it. I love that. I feel like we all need to get together. That needs to happen. Baker Street Knit says, okay, first of all, your hair is just so cute with the curls. It's such a bouncy, summery style. Can we talk about my hair for just a minute? So, I can't remember if I told you this or not, but I have switched to washing my hair once a week, and I end up curling it like twice a week. So actually, and that's the reason for curling it, because if it's straight, I really can't get away without washing it. It'll look terrible. But if it's curly, then you don't really notice that I haven't washed it. And it's totally working for me. I just love it. She said, also, I've got yarn set aside for a faucette, but now I really want to go home and pull it out and see if it could work in that April color with what I have, because that would be so cute. I would love to see a faucette knit up in this April color of the month. It is so pretty, and it coordinates with a lot of the other colors, and it might coordinate with stuff in your stash too, so that's always worth a try. Sarah, I would love to see if that works for you, if something in your stash will work. see. Carrie Yetter said, Farmhouse on Boone is a great podcast about sourdough baking. She's not so much about the real rules of sourdough, but makes amazing recipes. That sounds super good. So we are doing Sourdough Sunday today, even though it's Easter, and we are very reluctantly going to share with the grandparents who are coming over. You know, I hope that they appreciate it fully, because if they don't, I'm just gonna like walk over and just take it right out of their hand and be like, I'm sorry, you need to gush over this bread more or you can't eat it. Robert May says, Andrea from Fruity Knitting loves sweaters that have no ease, and knitting pieces and seaming is what she likes because of what you are calling structure. Seams hold a specific shape in place, right, and that's why people love them. I've also noted that she will go up a gauge or down a gauge just to get the waist shape where she wants it. I have no patience for this, but I appreciate her effort and the lovely finished article. Excuse me. That's exactly how I feel about it. I respect it. I love that Andrea wants that and is willing to do that. It's just not my game. It's just not the way that I play it. Always Yarn First says, I think Knit Picks is a great option because as much as I love hand-dyed yarn and indie makers, we can't all afford indie-dyed sweaters. I get it. I am one of you. I can't afford them either. I am also 45 and know what you mean about saying some words, and my daughter looks at me like I'm crazy. She's 16. I just totally embrace it like she isn't in the know. LOL. You know, if you like hand-dyed yarn, Knit Picks has some that looks hand-dyed, and maybe it is, I don't know. Also, Hobby Lobby has, it looks like indie-dyed yarn, but it's just regular, I don't know. Maybe it's indie, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, but it looks like indie-dyed yarn. But I get it, I get it. It's wonderful that there are people out there who can support indie dyers and are willing to on occasion. That's what keeps people like me in business. But when it comes to not affording stuff, I totally understand because I live there too. And I have people, like my testers will say, I'm really sorry, I can't afford, even with the discount, to buy my yarn from you for the test. I'm like, I get it. No pressure. If you can, great. If you can't, be here for the free part. Like, that's why I have the free part, for that reason. Sue Emmons says, me too. I want to be best friends with all the knitters. I think we have something really special if we only could translate all of the great attributes to the world. You know, kind of like the golden rule. By the way, your dress is fabulous. Your podcasts are always so good. Oh, you're so kind, and I always look forward to them. Thank you for the thoughtful content, and thank you too, kids. That's the cutest frog ever. Nope, I've never heard of Dwerby either, but I'm old, so I'm for some fresh bread and butter too. It was amazing. It's so good. Woolton Burns says, oh my goodness, I love the idea of a derpy dinosaur pattern. I can't wait. The accessories are the best part. I loved dressing and undressing my dolls as a little girl. That is awesome. I would love to read all these comments. Many of you commented on tatting, and I got a lot of emails about tatting. And it was my intention to talk about that this week, but I just ran out of time. So next week for sure. I'm not going to dive into it too deep, but just in case you've never heard of it and you're like, well, what the heck is that? We'll talk about that. Oh, there was a comment I wanted to read. Oh, did I miss it? Darcy said, if it wasn't for top down, I'd never knit a sweater. Me too. Oh, here it is. Teresa said, Devin, your podcast is dope. No cap. Your patterns are groovy and your yarn is fly, no lie. That mixed like 5 different decades worth of words. But I loved it. Oh, thanks, Teresa. Thanks everyone for these wonderful comments. Go enjoy your family, celebrate the resurrection. Happy Easter, and I will see you back here next week. Bye, knitters.